ASVOF is more than a film festival. It is an incredible place for people to meet and connect, which is very rare from having attended other festivals.
Madam President, please come on stage, regardless if you think the light's better down there.
The jury, we are giving the best prize to...
We'll start with the themed orations, and for that I'll call on stage Miguel Villapolios.
I did to go with The Castle by Pandemonia.
I'd like to thank Tigger, because he's my co-director.
I don't get it.
And I'd also like to thank Mayway, who's the glue behind this whole project.
Film submissions, script submissions for the next edition. So, start your cameras rolling.
Following the awaited face-to-face between two fashion icons, Daniel Lismore and Miss Diane Pernet.
And thank you, Mayway, for putting this together.
Right. So how have they evolved since you started the festival, or not evolved?
No, they've evolved because, in the beginning, when photographers' agents realized, okay, fashion film is something, like we're going to have our photographer, like they're going to do their shoot for the magazine, which is a frozen image, and then they're going to do a film. Like, a photographer and a filmmaker they're two totally different mediums. And I used to have discussions with agents because I'd say, it's a beautiful film, the clothes are great, the styling's great, but it's not a film. It's a fashion shoot in motion. It doesn't make a film.
So how do you choose them?
Just instinct.
Have you ever regretted not showing a film? Like you said no, and then later on you've gone, that was quite good.
No, not really. No. There's some people probably hate me because I don't take their films.
What kind of voices do you like to platform?
People that have a voice. They're like, if we go into the satellite editions, there's a new one we just introduced this past year, Mental Health in Fashion, and that room was packed. That says something, doesn't it?
Since I've known Diane, I don't know if you've all known her for a while, but she is always way ahead of everybody else all the time on everything. Like you're so far. What is next, do you think?
The problem with that is the person that's first never makes any money. That's why you have to buy t-shirts.
And there's a pop-up in Soho for the next 3 days in
Yes.
Joe Corey's place, which is on Thrift Street. And so many incredible jury members and
yes.
judges and...
I've had amazing people. Alejandro Jodorowsky. Were you there for...
Which one was it? I think I was. I was...
Endless Poetry. He did El Topo, Holy Mountain. You should all know the film if you never saw it. You should see it. He's just celebrated his 95th birthday yesterday. He's incredible. He's the last living surrealist. And he's also on this, I'm forming a board of directors. This is another way that one filmmaker thought to raise money to support the festival, have a board of directors, or they have to put money in. But you need a figurehead. So I asked Alejandro, not for money, of course, just to have his endorsement to say, and it's really funny, I spoke to his wife, Pascal, who's art director, costume designer, and they paint together. She's an amazing woman, 40 years younger than him. She was a virgin when they met. Can you imagine a 30-year-old virgin? It was all surreal. I mean, he's a surrealist after all. Anyway, I had asked her, I said, you know, I really want Alejandro, because I did a tribute to him. I always support everything he does, all his paintings. And she goes, oh, you know, he never does this because, you know, he's solicited all the time. But then again, it's you. She said, can you write a letter of what you want, like an email? And I'm like, okay, but you know, I told you what I want. I just want his name. He doesn't have to do anything. Just to say, you know, you endorse this. And he did.
What are the struggles that come with running a film festival?
The biggest struggle is money. The Ministry of Culture, as of 2 years ago, gives their endorsement, but they didn't give any money. Like when we had a meeting, the first thing they said was, I hope you're not looking for money or visas. So I was like, well, okay, you know, finding talent is not a big problem.
Does anybody have any questions for Diane?
Diane, do you think that designers really fully appreciate the power of film? That there's enough appreciation of it? I mean, it's extraordinary during that COVID period, there was a sort of feeling that film would become very, very important, wouldn't it? It might even replace the show. And then that kind of died away again a bit. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of the designers during COVID that did films were totally incapable. They did some of the most boring stuff I've ever seen. But I don't say in general that designers don't see the value of films, because I feel quite the opposite. I think there isn't a brand, small or large, that doesn't use the medium of film to, you know, express the atmosphere of the brand. I think they realize the value. But during COVID, I saw a lot of horrible stuff. You know, I was just like, you got all that money, and why don't you just get a good director? You know? Why do you think that because you're a designer, you're a director? In Willie's case, it worked, you know, but most of the time, you're good at something. You're not good at everything.
Do you think your festival's like evolved fashion film? Like, do you think it set a target with the industry?
I certainly hope so.
Questions? I want one off every line, every second row. Andamonia, do you have a question?
Roger has another question.
Yeah,
I know Roger since the 90s.
I always remember you telling me the stories about your very early days as a designer, and I'm not sure how many people here know much about that, and I've always found that completely fascinating. Could you tell us a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I guess probably nobody knows.
Go for it.
No, I was a designer in New York for 13 years, basically in the 80s.
Wasn't Naomi Campbell in your show?
Naomi Campbell, yeah, she wasn't in my show. She was 15 when she modeled for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was sweet. And, you know, for a designer, you dressing her, I mean, she's the body of death. It was pleasure. You know, she was like a living doll in front of me. And sweet.
So you have this incredible silhouette, and you're always wearing different
So do
things.
you.
Thank you. Do you want to tell us any about it? Because I'm sure people are curious. I know the answer, but I don't know if you want to go there.
Well, it's very boring, maybe. I'm only 5'2". I like to be at least 5'7". So I wear high shoes and high hair. And you're in the films by someone I kind of urged to be a director, Tim Yip, who's been making a film that Mayway is working on as a producer, introduced Tim to everybody. East London, I think, of interest. Love Infinity. I met him in somewhere in China. We were cutting a ribbon for a store, and he told me with those long iron scissors in China, we could hardly hold them because he's shorter than me, I think. But anyway, he had told me about how he won. He was the first Chinese to win Academy Award for costumes and art direction for Ang Lee's Crouching Tiger. And he was telling me all the operas and the things that he did, and I said, well, why don't you make a film? I have a film festival. It's Centre Pompidou. And he did. He made it on Lily. And the first film, like, it went sort of, I liked it, but nobody else really talked about it. And then he made another film, and he had come from Beijing to Pompidou. And then the next year, when Jean-Paul Gaultier was the president, he submitted a film, but he didn't come. It was called Kitchen, and it was about the making of an emperor's meal. It was beautiful.
That's insane.
It was beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And he won Best Art Direction, and he almost won the grand prize.
And the menu?
I have a question. It's a sort of double-barrel question. How many films actually get submitted to your festival? And do you actually manage to watch them all? And how do you manage to watch them all?
Well, I do watch them all, and let's say, like, maybe 400. And, if they're awful, I might speed through it. Because, in the beginning whether you're going to like it or not.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do watch them.
Wow, that's...
And then my jury doesn't have to watch everything, obviously. I make an edit, and I sit with a couple other people. The ones that I think are like, I'm not sure whether this should be in or not. And then I'll get a couple other opinions. And then when I reduce it, that's what I give to my jury members.